let's finish the question in this video. So recall that now we have to calculate the area of the other triangle. So this one over here. Now that's a definite area between the lower bound, between this x value of a over s, so we have a over s, and the upper bound of b. We have to calculate it until the value of b. And over here, again, we have our function f of x, which is s times x minus a, because this is the new line where we shifted it downwards. So with this in mind, we can calculate it. Let's write it over here below and start doing it. So we will have the area, which is the integral between the following boundaries. I don't know how's the right word. A over s, and here we have b. Now the function is sx minus a times dx, and we start solving. Now how do we solve? Well, as a first step, we're going to integrate every term. What's the integral of s times x dx? Well, we're going to have the boundaries between a over s and b, and as a result we will have the following: s times x dx integrated, that's just the constant s, times x to the power of 1 plus 1, which is 2, divided by 1 plus 1, which is also 2. Now minus, what is the result of the integral of a times dx? Well, that's just going to be a times x, because when we differentiate a times x, we go back to a. Hope this makes sense. Now what's the next step? Well, the next step is to substitute the values. We will substitute the boundaries into the x value. So let's start with b, and we will have the following. Now let's keep track of the colors. We will have something like that. So a big bracket over here. Now in the first expression, we'll have everything substituted with b. So we have s multiplied with b squared, and let's color b squared differently because we substitute b into x. So that's b squared divided by 2 minus a multiplied with x. So a multiplied with b. We substitute b into x. A multiplied with b, and we close the first bracket. So that's our first bracket. Now we subtract the following: minus, and now we're going to replicate that with the following term. We'll substitute a over s into the x's. So what do we have as a result? We will have s multiplied with a over s to the power of 2. So let's keep the color for x. A over s to the power of 2, all of it divided by 2. So all of this divided by 2, and then minus a times x, which x is going to be a over s. So we will have a over s, right? A over s over here. We close that bracket. So we close that bracket. Now what do we do next? We'll open some brackets over here. So we will have as a result s times b squared divided by 2, minus a times b, so minus a times b. And now what do? We work with this expression, minus, and in brackets we have s times, what is a over s to the power of 2? Well, we raise both variables to the power of 2, and we have a to the power of 2 divided by s squared over 2, minus, what is a times a? That's a squared divided by s. Now we cancel out some terms, so s and s squared cancel out, and we're left with the following. We have now s times b squared divided by 2 minus a times b, and in the other term we have minus a squared divided by s divided by 2. We could just write it as a squared divided by 2s minus a squared over s. What do we do next? We can open the brackets to see what we get as a final result for this expression, and we will have s times b squared divided by 2 minus a times b, and then minus a squared divided by 2s, minus a squared over s becomes plus a squared over s. Now this is the expression that we found, and remember we have to add this to the previous expression from the previous video. So let me just hold on a second. How do I? Yes, like that. No. Hold on. Have some technical issues real quick. Yes, like that. So we crop this and we want to add it to the previous area that we found. Remember, that was the previous area in the previous video. So all of this, right? That's the negative area below the small triangle, and we want to add this with the area what we just found. So we're gonna add it right next to it. So let's add them. So what are we going to get as a result? Well, let's see. First of all, let me just zoom out to get some more space to keep the big picture. Zoom out like that. Now this negative sign is going to affect every term inside this bracket. So let's open that bracket to see what is going to be the result. We will have minus a squared divided by 2s, that's our first term, and then minus a squared divided by s, which becomes positive, plus a squared divided by s. Now let's change colors for the second result that we found for the second area of the triangle, which is going to be plus s times b squared divided by 2 minus a times b minus a squared divided by 2s plus a squared over s. Okay, now we can add some terms because we have common terms here. So minus a squared divided by 2s and minus a squared divided by 2s. Well, that's just minus a half a squared over s minus another half a squared over s. That becomes minus 1 a squared divided by s. So we could just write it as a squared over s. Hope this makes sense. Once again, just, real quick, the coefficient here is minus 1 over 2. Here is minus 1 over 2. Minus 1 over 2. Minus 1 over 2 is just minus 1. Now, what else do we have? We have the following. Plus a squared over s plus another a squared over s becomes plus 2 times a squared over s. What else? We have this. We have plus s times b squared over 2 plus, let me just circle it, s times b squared over 2, so plus s b squared over 2, and then minus a times b, so minus a times b. Okay, now what's going to be the final answer? So we have minus a squared over s plus 2a squared over s. We're adding the same terms with different coefficients. Minus 1 plus 2 becomes just positive 1, so it's 1 times a squared divided by s plus s times b squared over 2, s times b squared over 2, and minus a times b, so minus a times b. And that's gonna be it. That's gonna be the area, and we are done.